everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Linox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Linox, here to remind you that this is the best season of your life. Today, we're going to unpack another episode of the journey of self discovery, which is a journey that you and I are going through, and that is to reach to a place where we are functioning, where we are going through, navigating through life, being our authentic self, not living a life uh, on autopilot or a life that is performative. We want to get to a place where we show up with confidence, where we are bodacious, where we are assertive in everything that we do. I forgot to put on my do not disturb, and I'm just getting some alerts here. So let me just turn that off. Anyway, yeah, so we are going through this journey, and I hope you are seeing the changes in your life. I'm definitely seeing the changes in my life. One of the things that just happened, and with in my because a lot of the changes, uh, the people that are closest to you, whether it's your partner, your kids, your immediate family, your relative, and so forth, even at work, they will notice it if you are really making the changes. And understand this, some of the changes that you will have will make some people uncomfortable. Why? Because they prefer the old version of you. They prefer the person that's insecure. They prefer the person that always says yes. They would prefer the person that is not sure about themselves, that's always volunteering, and so forth. So but as you discover who you are, then you start being a little different. It makes people uncomfortable. But I'm telling you, there's a price to pay, but it's worth it. I encourage you to pay the price. And know this, you are not responsible for sustaining any relationship solely by yourself. If there is no reciprocity, then let it die. If it's not reciprocate, regardless with whom, then sometimes you're going to have to let it die as you go through this journey of self-discovery. Otherwise, you become a people chaser, dancing to somebody else's drumbeat when you can create your own. And that's what you want to do. In my own personal life, I've seen the change. And I think I shared a little bit of this last week, but it bears repeating. My husband, he has always been the priority in our lives. I have always made him the priority, and happily so. I've never felt any kind of resentment, any kind of anger or bitterness. Never. I enjoyed making him the priority. As a matter of fact, he would say, "Oh, you spoiled me so much," but again, in his ways, he has also spoiled me. He's a fantastic person, great husband. He's just a great man, and I appreciate sharing life with him. But I've not, but I've always made him the priority. But now that I am going through this journey of self discovery, I realize as I am unpacking my worth, my value, as I am recognizing that on a deeper level, I'm like, no, wait a minute, I am my priority. And so I started making changes. Worrying if he would want something done, if it's not an emergency or whatever, there's no urgency to it, I would drop what I'm doing and I would go and whatever. Now it's different. I would be on my computer looking at something or whatever, doing some kind of a research, and he would be doing something, looking for something, on his cell phone or whatever, and he would say, look it up. Yeah, look it up, whatever. And I would like, no, I need to go through this and finish what I'm doing. And he's like, oh, okay. you know, he understands why we have had to have a conversation about these changes so that he would understand that, my I am now my priority, unless it's something that is urgent or, extremely important, I am my priority. And guess what? My husband understands that. He understands it. And he also knows, because he's also going through a journey. Mine is a little more structured, or I am like aware of the changes that's happening within me. For him, it's by osmosis, because we share a lot, and then he becomes aware of himself, and implement those changes and so forth. But he likes things the way they are, and the little changes he doesn't he embraces. Why? Because when I become a better person, I am my best version for you. He understands that clearly. I'm not going to become my better version and then depreciate my relationship. That's not the way it works for us. The better I become, and he understands that, because the better I become, I will give you the best version of myself. So keep that in mind. I hope that you are having some kind of a positive effect in your own personal experience. This way you can and just remember, just share with your family if they notice something different or whatever, or if you have to say no when you always say yes, then you can explain why. You don't have to tell them you're going through a journey of self-discovery, but just let them know, you have some things that you had planned, and you're going to do this and so forth, and just try to really ease people through the changes that are taking place in your own life. So, one of the things that I want to do on my show, because this whole thing about a journey of self discovery is, to me, has become very fascinating. And another topic also that we share is the journey of religious deconstruction. And for those of you that have, that are having such a issue with that, but then again, there's those of you that are really shedding all the weight and the burden of religion, and because you're coming into the knowledge of who you are. So as time goes on, we're going to have conversations. I'm going to bring you on the show so that you can share your journey with 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 the audience, and encourage others so that they would know what has taken place in your life. I think it's fascinating because everybody have different experiences, and so far you've only heard my experience, and but to hear from those of you that are going through this journey of religious deconstruction, that's important because, as you said, it's brought you to a place where it's hard to figure out how to get to know who you are when you have been so indoctrinated in a way of thinking, a way of being, and so forth. And it's just have you at a place where you're stuck. So, anyway, we're going to massage that a little bit. And then, it's going to come to a place because you've also shared that it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to come out publicly because you're afraid of what will people say, what they will think. They'll call you apostate. They'll call you, backslidden, going to hell. You're going to lose some friends. It's tough. I don't know what, again, my experience has been so different because I didn't even see it as a journey of religious deconstruction. It just happened. My things happen by decision. I learn something, I make a decision, and I move on. That's just the way I am made up. That's the way I'm built. But you may have a whole different set of dynamics, especially those of you that have been raised in the church. You've been raised in church, and all you know is what you've been taught. And in as in the Christian religion, you were taught what to think and not how to think. So it's kind of different. It's kind of a challenge to to do that shift, to to change that programming, to change the conditioning, the indoctrination. You have to do a wash. You have to do a reverse wash because of the brainwashing that's happened throughout the years. It's embedded in our psychic that if you think anything else, it brings fear. But and then some of you are asking, what is the difference between spirituality and religion? And it's important that you understand, because what is happening is that as you're leaving this religious doctrine, Christianity, which is right now, I see it on life support, because too many people are becoming aware of who they are, and they're becoming aware that it's all, man-made, and all of that, and people are becoming aware, and then they're just changing. So as you become aware and you take the steps to leave religion. Some of you are asking about spirituality. Some people today, they don't even want to associate themselves with Christianity. They say, I am, I believe in a higher power. I believe there's a higher being. I believe there's a creative force, a whole bunch of stuff, but they don't want to be identified as a Christian. And why? That is because Christianity has taken on a whole different meaning, a whole different definition because of all the things. As a matter of fact, I think the same when somebody says to me, before, when you would say, well, she's a Christian woman, you would kind of elevate that perception of that person, that they're honest, that they're kind, that they're nice, and so forth. Today is totally different. You say you're a Christian and people put you like, stay away from that person. You become stigmatized. Why? Because of all the things that we have seen, and you have the Christian nationalists and all these groups that claim they're Christians, and uh, it's a big stigma. So people don't want to think or identify with that label of being a Christian. So a lot of people are labeling themselves as spiritual. They would say, "Well, I'm not a Christian. I'm not religious. I'm spiritual." And some of you want to know, well, what's that? What do I think of spirituality? Well, religion, we know that religion is following the experience of someone else. You are following the perspective of someone else. That's what religion is. Somebody came up with this whole concept, this whole myth, tales, fables, stories, and we are following that. We are following the perspective of someone else. That's what religion is. Somebody has come up with this whole idea of eternal life. Somebody has come up with this whole idea of a heaven. Somebody has come up with this whole idea of a hell. Somebody has come up with this whole idea of a God. Somebody has come up with this whole idea of Jesus and dying on the cross, and God giving his only begotten son to save us from what? That's so they have come up with this whole uh, ideology and condense it in a book. And with that, you know, in the Christian religion, you have over 450,000 different sect. So everybody add their twist to it. If they didn't like this, they take this out, they put this in, they rephrase this, and everybody sees it differently. That alone should show you, should tell you, should, make it clear to you that it's all made up. It's all made up by man. Yet you follow your whole life based on religion. Now, spirituality has a different twist. Spirituality is, and again, I don't subscribe to any kind of label at all. Not religion, certainly, and not even spirituality. But what spirituality is, it gives you freedom. You are what's happening, it's based on freedom, and you are free to create. You have given yourself the freedom to have your own experiences, your own experience as a person, as opposed to following the perspective of them. Spirituality is more inclusive, wherein religion divides. Religion separates. Religion don't want anything to do with the LGBTQ people, even race. You know, you have First Baptist Church, and that's a white Baptist church, and then you have the Ebenezer type Baptist church, and that's the Black Baptist church. Division, it divides. And it, you know, in the Bible, it's written, if you don't leave your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your whatever, and come on to me, you are not worthy to serve me. So it divides, it separates. You know, there's just a constant conflict. It's just a constant conflict. Wherein spirituality gives you the freedom to embrace the LGBTQ, you know, without judgment, without criticism. Because why? Because you're kind of governed by love and inclusivity and diversity, and you want to embrace one, you want to include everyone, equity. You want to make them feel that they're worthy of love. That is spirituality. You know, you see the value in someone else, you see their worth. Why? Because you recognize and you know your worth. You see, you recognize religion is based on fear, fear of hell, fear of missing heaven, fear of offending God. You know what I was thinking the other day? I was thinking, imagine that there's this verse that says, in the last days many will come unto me saying, Lord, Lord, Lord. uh and I would say, this is God talking, depart from me, you workers of iniquity. And you know, when somebody when a Christian tells you that, you know, recites that verse, they're not thinking that they may be subject to that. They're thinking you or some other Christian, whatever. But just imagine if, you know, the God of the Bible that tells you you're omnipotent, well, he is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. And if he asks you these questions, what what are your standards? What are your values? Why did you not question my own character, even though he is the God that you're serving? I said, thou shalt not kill. Yet in the Bible, I killed the firstborn of Egypt, of the Egyptians. I killed them. I commanded the Israelites to kill the Amalekites and to take them as slaves, to kill the Midianites. Why did you not question that? What have you done with the brain that I have given you? What have you done with the brain that I have given you? You know that passage with the talents he gave these guys? He gave these guys like money to invest or to do whatever, money. He gave this one a certain amount, like three of them. And one invested it, one traded something, and the other one hid it under the bushel. And when he comes back, he asks the first one, "What did you do?" He said, "You know, with the talents that I gave you, let's say the money's whatever." And this guy said, "Well, I invested it, and now I've gotten like, you know, 10 times more." And I'm like, you know, moving and shaking. And the second one said, "Well, yes, I traded with this and whatever, and this is what I got back." And then the third one, he said, "Well, I knew you're kind of like a hard master. I hid mine under the bush." He did not do anything with the talents that was given. What if you were the one that's asked that question? What have you done with the gifts, the talents, the expertise that and the skills that I have given you? What have you done with your brain? What have you done with your mind? What have you done with your thinking ability? Have you submitted yourself to critical thinking skills so that you can know the truth for your life? What have you done with that? Or have you just submitted yourself to a book that was written by someone else and you follow it to a T? And here we are today. There's no heaven, there's no hell, and you've missed life. because there's no eternal life. What have you done to think things through, to use your logic? After all, if I created you, God, gave you a mind of your own, which is your most valuable, treasured asset, your most valuable possession, your most valuable commodity, your brain. Why? Because you have the ability to think for yourself. What have you done with that? Have you exercised logic and reason, logical reasoning concerning life? If you're following the book, I says, command ye me. Come on, let's reason together. Let's reason. Let's figure things out. Let's ask questions. Let's reason. What have you done with your mind? What have you done with your ability to think? What have you done to grow? What have you done to develop? What have you done to evolve from point A to point B? What have you done all these years? Or have you simply been waiting for an afterlife? No, no, no. You were born to live and enjoy this life, to make it work for you in a positive way, a life of pleasure, a life of abundance, a life of peace, a life of health. Everything has been laid before you, but you have lived your entire life for an afterlife of which you know nothing about. What have you done? What have you done? What have you done with the gift of a mind that I have given you to create, to invent the things that are around you? What have you done to live the life that I have promised you? I don't, that's how I conduct my life, using my own intelligence. But just think of it. You come into this last days and you're asked these questions. What are you doing to live the life now? Or are you just waiting for an escape? To escape from the reality of now, from earth? Because your whole life is based on eternity, something that you have no idea about, but it's someone else's perspective. Someone else said it and you bought it. So you go through life afraid of offending God, afraid of going to hell, afraid of not complying with the commandments. You go through life in fear, depression, anxiety. What have you done to make your life better? What have you done to discover the truth? What have you done to go back to that place so that you can return to the place of joy and peace and childlike innocence so that you can live a life here that's worth living and not wait for an afterlife which you know nothing about? You know nothing about an afterlife other than it's someone else's perspective. Someone else's perspective. What is your what are your perspective on life and this life? Using logic and reasoning. What's your perspective? How do you see life? Because my friend, as a man, as a woman thinks in her heart, so is she. That is one passage that I embrace to its fullest because I know in my own life as I have conducted my ability, my thinking skills, the things that has the things that have resulted in my life have been so wonderful that when I see it, I I marvel, realizing that I have the ability think, to discover, to unpack, and expect. It's like the universe just wait for me to come up with things to then deliver. And when I say universe, some of you say God, Yahweh, Allah, a higher power, a greater being, however you word it. For me, I say the universe. It's not a person, it's not a thing, it's just the universe. That's simply what I say, because as I execute, think and execute, it's like the world opens and delivers. My husband and I had a conversation the other day, and last year, I think it was the end of November. Oh, hi, sweetheart. A retake. I, I'll call it. It's a retake. I'll call you right back. Okay, bye. Sorry about that. Even though my phone is on do not disturb, there are certain people that can circumvent that. He doesn't know. And so whenever he calls, he just calls. So anyway, um, as I was saying, yeah, so we had this conversation, and we like to travel a lot. So the end of November, we went on this cruise, and it was marvelous, whatever. And then 3 weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later, we went to Costa Rica to spend the whole holiday season with our family, and we were saying what a wonderful time we had. And we were just like checking everything, and all that it costs, and all of that, because when we go to Costa Rica, we stay in a hotel. That just works for us because it gives us, the freedom, the privacy, and we want whatever. And then the family come and they pick us up and just took us all over, and just it was just a wonderful time. So we were talking about that, and we were saying, "Gosh, that." He's like, "We did a lot because earlier in the year we had been to London." The point is this: we were just saying how wonderful life has been for us. And I talk about it because it's like the more I express myself, the joy, the happiness, and so forth, it seems like it becomes easier, because now I don't even think about resources. I just make plans, and things just happen. And when we come back, it's not like you want to be in debt or anything. You want to have things paid for. So things have worked out so well for us in all ways. And that's why when I encourage people, people that I coach, people would say, well, well, I can't afford it, and I can, and little do you know that the more you do for yourself, and the more confident and assertive you become in walking this path, once you know your ability to create, and the gifts, talents, and expertise that you have, and start exercising your own dynamics in to navigate this life, and in creating things, and not necessarily following the perspective of another person, or living by fear, or thinking of an afterlife, thinking you're going to live for an afterlife. No, it's not. That's not the way it works. When you own your life, and I know that may be totally contrary to what's been taught. I know, because I was a Christian for many years. Don't steal God's glory. All of that. Again, that is that person's perspective. When we do stuff, we know that it is our effort. It is our effort that we have put together to do the things that we want. You're too afraid. People are too afraid, and you don't have to be afraid. And God continues, Why did you not uh, reason? I said, come, let's reason together. Why did you not do that? What are your standards? If I said something, why did you not question it? Does it make sense to you that Jonah sat in the belly of a whale for 3 days? Does that make sense to you? Again, somebody else's perspective. Why did you go through life with that infirmity, in a wheelchair, with a cane, in pain? Why did you not command ye me for healing and prosperity? Imagine if God asked you all of that and you're thinking, here you are waiting for an afterlife, streets of gold. What's that going to do for you? Streets of gold, uh, pearly gates, walls of agates. What's that? In the meantime, God is asking you, and again, this is just, I'm just creating a scenario here because I don't believe in any of that. I mean, it's just fables, tales, and stories. But just imagine that. You're having a hard time here. And God is saying, why? This is what you have now. This life is what you have. This is your reality. This life right here. What are you doing with this? What are you doing with the greatest asset? How do you think how do you think planes were created? Because somebody used their logic, their thinking skills, and created. They discovered that they could, have a metal with so many tons float in the air, and they made it happen. How do you think a ship navigates the ocean from one continent to another? How do you think that happened? Because somebody has decided to use their logical thinking skills. And all I'm saying to you, what are you doing with your brain, with your mind to solve just the situations that you have in front of you, be it your health, be it your finances, be it your relationship, be it self love? Whatever it is, what are you doing with the brain that I have given you? In all you're getting, get understanding, not just communication, but understanding of how things work. What are you doing to get understanding? To trust yourself, to trust your heart, to trust your intuition. And then you get to a place where it happens naturally. It will happen naturally. You start trusting yourself because you know that as you use the greatest asset, the greatest commodity that you have, which is your ability to think, your ability to solve problems. You see, there are no problems. Your life is full of solutions. And understand this. There's a cycle of life. People die and people are born. So people die, there's certain things that are just the way it is. I know it's sad when people die and we in our minds think we're going to see them again. This is what you got. This is what you have right now. This is what you have. This is the life. This is the moment. That's why they say live in the moment. This is what you have. This life is what you have right now, my friend. Many people are living for the afterlife. We the indoctrination is so strong that people don't question anything. People don't question anything at all. And when you hear people talk about their religion and so forth, it's so canned. It's so canned that it's non-effective. but if somebody is at a vulnerable state like I was when I got born again back in, many years ago. I think I was in New York City. Well, I left New York, went to California. I got inspired when I was in New York. Then I gave up a great job and went out to California to Fred Price's church and to get born again. I didn't know that I could get it right there in New York. Anyway, the point is, I was at a very vulnerable state in my life, and yeah, but it didn't help. I mean, I became religious. I became religious and walked that path for many years. But the moment I left, which was 16 years ago, and start exercising, I have come to, and I hope you get to that place also to understand the power of your mind, the power of your brain, the ability that you have to think, to create, to have your own perspective on things and to trust your life, your intuition. But the trick here is the moment you try to come up with your perspective, people always cloud it with the doctrine that's been imposed upon them. When you start trying to think outside of the box, and I say, don't even have a box, get rid of the box. But the moment you start thinking outside of the box, then you mix it with the doctrine that is embedded in you, that's immersed in your mind. So it becomes difficult, or it becomes a challenge to be to have a mind of your own, to think for yourself. Because why? Because religion, the Christian religion, they teach you what to think, not how to think. That's why even your kids, you see the kids in the church just mimicking their parents because they are being taught what to think. Not how to think, but what to think. And that's the challenge that a lot of people have, because in order to honor and to respect your own thought process, you are going to have to release the old. That's why you must be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Your mind has to be renewed. Your mind has to be changed. You have to get rid of the old programming and trust your own perspective to record and document new information in your mind, information without fear. And when I talk, when you think of hell, have you seen hell? Most people have their own hell right here. Bad marriages, can't keep a job. Sometimes it's health issues. Kids that, you know, cause problems. A whole people create their own hell right here. And then you're trying to fashion your life based on an afterlife. Some people have said, come quickly, Lord Jesus. I just can't stand it anymore being here. Because in your mind, you are convinced that there's an afterlife. That's why in Christianity, when somebody dies, they have hope of seeing them again. You have no evidence of that. But it's comforting, just like faith. Faith defies logic. Faith cannot blend with logic because faith is based on no evidence. Faith has no evidence. It's hope, it's a belief, and that brings comfort. Hope brings comfort. Faith brings comfort. But do you know, I know people that's been believing for things for years, whether it's children, a spouse, a house, being able to travel, their ideal job, um, just a whole bunch of stuff. They want to get married, a whole bunch of stuff for years. I mean, years and years. And now they're older and they're still hoping. There's comfort in hope and there's comfort in faith, but it's not reality. Reality is do something. Get yourself dolled up and, go out and create a social life, get to meet people and join a group, whatever the group is, whether it's meditation or bingo or chess or golf or the gym, whatever it is, a book club, whatever it is, a ski group, whatever it is that you enjoy, a travel group. That's really interesting because if you go solo, as a matter of fact, you should go solo. This way, you develop that confidence in going out solo, discovering the world solo, discovering the world solo. Imagine you booking a flight and reserving a hotel in, let me see, what's a great city? Amsterdam, Paris, London. Just say London, because London is, there's just a lot of stuff. Of course, London is very metropolitan, and then you can go into the countryside and so forth. It's beautiful. Let's say London or Paris, but London. Okay, if you are an American and the English and so forth. Even though in Paris, a lot of people in Europe they speak minimum three languages. But let's say you go to London and you go out and there are a lot of planning you can do, tours and groups and things like that. And you go into a restaurant, you sit by yourself and you have, your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, and you do it by yourself and you start getting to really enjoy your company and your presence and, your thoughts. And you're not ashamed, you're not embarrassed, you're not shy about going places solo and enjoying an evening. Eventually you're going to start, sending out a kind of energy of assertiveness that you're going to be attracting people. You're going to be attracting opportunities and circumstances and people, and you can't be afraid because you just simply can't be afraid that something is going to happen to you. Of course, you use wisdom, but you go out, go solo. I mean, you can grab a friend, but if they can't make it with you, then you go solo wherever it is, and you meet new friends. Get on a tour guide or something. We don't, I mean, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Of course, it's my husband and I, and we go and discover places on our own, and we like that little adventure. We make stuff adventurous, but go solo. And even here locally where you are, get spruced up and go to a uh, high-end restaurant and treat yourself to a nice seven-course meal or whatever floats your boat. Doesn't have to be a high-end restaurant, just a restaurant that you like. But it all depends on the ambiance, the surrounding that you want. Start thinking solo, my friend. Start thinking and start developing that to know that yes, you can do it. And get away from, again, if you want to be spiritual, then you have to get away from the doctrine, because spirituality brings with it the freedom to be like, if you are out and you meet people, you don't know what they are, you don't know what kind of affiliation you are, and if you see that they're part of the LGBTQ, you don't judge them, you don't criticize them, you just embrace them, and you have fun wherever you are, you have fun with them. Then if you are religious, religion divides, it divides. Spirituality have a tendency to unite people. Religion divides. Do not be unequally yoked with an unbeliever. You must leave your mother, your father, your sister, your kids, whatever, and follow me. Otherwise, you're not worthy of me. And all of that teaching. Do not be unequally yoked. I mean, so because somebody is an unbeliever, and people say it all the time, they would say, as a matter of fact, this girl yesterday, she was talking about wanting to get married, and she was saying, and let it be known, this person has to be a godly man, and then she just went on and on and on, and I mean, these are things that I can easily scroll because you just you just scroll on. Those thoughts you have to you have to renew your mind. People that say, a marriage without God fails. That is no bueno. That is not true. But people think that. People say, the understand that the one that's going to keep your marriage together is God. That is not true. You know it and I know it because there's a high divorce rate in the Christian community. I'm talking about, when I say religion, I'm talking about the Christian community. There's a high divorce rate. There's a high divorce rate, and not only a high divorce rate, but a high rate of sexual abuse to minors, in that, not just to minors, but just sexual abuse. All those things are happening. That is the reason why, one of the reasons why you must transform your, renew your mind. That's the only way you will transform your life. You have to discover truth. I heard on social media they showed a clip of Jesse Duplantis. He's a evangelist, pastor, teacher, whatever. I used to follow him. I used to like his preaching years ago when I was of that mindset. And he said the reason Jesus hasn't come back. Again, I don't believe in all that stuff, but he said that the reason Jesus hasn't come back is because you're not giving enough. People are not giving enough. And then he talks about the mansions and the planes that he has and all those things. I mean, of course, that's a different teaching, but you have to understand for yourself, what is the truth associated with that. Do you believe that, or you just stay on the sideline and criticize it? That doesn't help you. Just staying on the sideline criticizing, you know why it doesn't help you? Because you are still following a doctrine. The same doctrine that he is teaching. You may not like that he said that, but you're still following the doctrine. You can't follow the doctrine. You can't pretend to be spiritual and still follow remnants or have the remnants of a Christian doctrine that you follow or that you're guided by. You can't have both. And in most cases, people, when they say, well, I'm not a Christian, I'm spiritual, but you're still following the doctrine. And that's why your life hasn't budged. It hasn't changed because your mind has not been renewed. You have to renew it. New means new. It doesn't mean secondhand. It doesn't mean hand me down. It means brand spanking new. When I buy stuff, I like brand new stuff. Brand spanking new. I like to smell the newness of leather, whether it's a leather purse, a leather shoes. I don't want anything. I want it brand spanking new. That means it's brand new. I'm the first owner. Even when I go to the supermarket, you probably do like me. I will reach all the way in the back to get one. And my husband, he laughs because I said, I want one that's untouched by human hands. He just laughed. Obviously, we know what that is. But, I pick it up and I look at the date, the expiration date. I'm one of those kind of shoppers. You don't ever want to rush me because I take my time. Look at all the expiration dates and or when it was put out, if it's something from a bakery, the day that it was put out there and stuff like that. So you have to get it new. And the way you're going to get it new, my friend, is your own. Isn't that fantastic? It's going to come from you, your own experiences, your own perspective, your own ideas, your own views, your opinion, your own self trust. because your approval is all that matters. You don't need the validation, the approval, the affirmation from anyone but yourself. My friend, that's fantastic. You have an arsenal of goodies, things that you can do and say and create in your life if you only knew. But if you are hindered and stifled by the old, you cannot. There's one that says you cannot put old wine in a new wine thing. You cannot put old wine in a new wine, whatever, un frasco in Spanish. Has to be new wine. New wine, my friend, new wine. You know I like wine. I'm always cheers, cheers, cheers. I like wine. I like a glass of wine with dinner, a glass of wine when I go out with my friends. That's just my thing. You got to put new wine into a new frasco. New wine, my friend. But pause and take a minute and know and embrace and accept and receive that you have it in you, that you have it, you have the chip. Don't ever, the words that you use toward yourself, don't ever speak ill or call yourself out of your name. Don't ever speak ill about yourself. Ever. I never, well, I don't call myself any kind of words or, my husband, we don't use words that is not elevated to lift us and encourage and motivate. Don't ever call yourself any kind of way. I see people, they would say, they would say, oh, I'm sick. I'm sick with this. I have this. I have that. And they claim the very thing they don't want is what they're claiming. The very thing they don't want is what they're claiming. You know, I, nobody can, no one can teach you this. I share with you, but these are things that I have lived, my experience. The most fascinating thing about this that I share is for you to discover your own. Make a decision to become the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer of your own life. Make a decision to become Commander in Chief. All that mess that's going on in the world, in the US, and all that. You know what? Look, I have disconnected myself from it now. I get captions of what's going on because, I like to be relevant. But do you think I let it affect me, like, getting angry and, no, 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 that's low vibration for me. That is low vibration. I need to kick it up a notch and to make sure that I'm in control of my thoughts, the things that I do, and and that's where my energy is challenged, channeled, not challenged, channeled. And I encourage you to do the same because you are able to be transformed into a new person, reinvent yourself, recreate yourself into the person that you really want to be. Because the person that you really want to be is the person that's on the inside that wants to come out. But you've got to get a new mind. You've got to renew your mind and get rid of fear, think logically, start to reason, because this life is all you got. This life is all you have. And if you think the God that's of the Bible is going to be mad with you, that right there is going to hold you back. There's no God that's going to be mad at you. Why? when, according to the Bible, according to yourself, He's the one that's giving you a mind of your own to be able to think, to decipher, to expound, and to grow and to reason. To reason, my friend. I don't care what situation you're in. I don't care if you see yourself at a disadvantage. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you are down in the trenches. It does not matter. When I think, again, I'm always in I had a conversation because my husband and I, we talk a lot about different stuff. When I think of the worst thing that could happen to someone, I think of Nelson Mandela, 27 years behind uh, in a cell, incarcerated, 27 years. And he came out. Read his story, it's fascinating. He came out and became the prime minister of South Africa. The same people, the same nation that locked him up, the same nation that fostered apartheid, that locked him up, he became prime minister over South Africa. Imagine that. You are able to do the same for your life. And with that, my friend, I'm going to leave you with that so that you can sup on that. In the meantime, every Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, we have a date right here. And if you can't make it, see these icons over here? Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You can pick up the show 24/7. It's right there. 24/7. If you want to drop me a note, go to the Cynthia Linox Show at Gmail. No. The CynthiaLinoxShow.com. Yeah, the CynthiaLinoxShow.com. Go to the bottom and you'll see where you can send me an email. There's a box in the bottom, and I will get back with you and so forth. I'm also a certified life coach. And if you need someone to walk alongside with you, I have a coach. It's helpful. And whether it's me or someone else, it's good to have a coach to encourage you. When you have a coach, you don't have to book a lot of sessions. 6 sessions. 4, 6 sessions. And if you want to continue, you can do that. I also offer a 30-minute complimentary visit so that we both can determine if there's the right energy. If you're comfortable, I'm comfortable, and we take it from there. In the meantime, I'm going to say adios. I will see you next Thursday, same time, same place. In the meantime, have a fantastic weekend. And whatever you choose to do, make sure it's great. Make sure it's good. Whatever it is that you choose to do, we have plans. We always make plans for stuff, and always look forward to not just the weekend, but just the life itself, because this is all we have now. Hasta luego, amigos. We'll see you next Thursday, same time, same place. La próxima. And remember, renew your mind to the new.